The views and opinions expressed are those of the Wrestling Fans Insight and are not associated in any way with Libsyn.com or any of the major podcasting platforms. This podcast may contain some explicit language and adult material content not suitable for children. Listening discretion is highly advised. Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of the Wrestling Fans Insight, episode number 25. We hope you all had a great Labor Day weekend here in the U.S. Great weekend all around over the world last weekend. I do apologize for no episode last week. I was trying to work it in, but due to my conflicting schedule everywhere, it just did not happen. We're here this week. We're going to get right to it. We're going to cover probably something that's already been beaten, or it's, most people would say more beaten than a dead horse. I'm sure I fucked that up, but we're going to get right into the really big pay-per-view weekend from last week. We'll start off with WWE's Clash at the Castle. Before we do get started, I got my co-host here, Heather. Heather, how are you?
I'm good. Ready to get into all of this wrestling, which is about to make my mind explode going over all these big events.
Yeah, would it be fair to say this was probably just a little bit too heavy of a wrestling weekend?
Oh boy, was it. And then I had to go back and rewatch everything so I could get my notes down.
Oh Lord, yeah, it definitely had some great entertainment, but some added drama to it. So, but hey, that's what we're here for our little, I guess you can say, sickening entertainment.
Yes.
And with us, our special enforcer, Carolina. Carolina, how are you?
Oops. Hey, everybody. How are you doing? I'm just here enforcing whatever. I'm just protecting the ice cream right now. That's my job. So if you need anything, let me know. If I don't get to you right away, it's because I'm inspecting the ice cream. So, so yeah. And also, if you wanted a mic, please put your hand up. Raise your hand up. I forgot to mention that. So when he opens the floor up, just please raise your hand up and we will get a mic to you.
All right. With that said, Heather, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Let's go ahead and start off with WWE's Clash at the Castle. The kickoff match, which I'm really not going to go into detail. To me, it was just more of a, hey, let's get the fans started and get the show going. Madcap Moss and the Street Profits defeat the team of Austin Theory and Alpha Academy. Did you have much to say about this?
No, I didn't. Of course, I didn't get to rewatch it because it was on the kickoff show. But when I did watch it, I enjoyed the match. It was pretty good. Just action flips and just the normal. But yeah, I liked it.
All right. So let's go ahead and just get right to the main card of the event. The very first one, we had the 6-woman tag match, Damage Control, which is the new name of the faction of Bayley, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai. They get the victory over the WWE Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair, Asuka, and Alexa Bliss. And I thought this was a pretty good way to start off the night. Got the fans entertained. The one notable thing I couldn't get over was the fans trying to sing to Bayley, but this shows you what a great heel Bayley can be. She did a wonderful job staying in heel mode and getting the crowd to pretty much go silent. And, with the end, we saw Bayley get the victory, the pinfall victory over Bianca Belair, which I think is going to set up a championship opportunity for Bayley to take on Belair later at some point. What did you think of the match overall?
I really enjoyed it, like all the back and forth, the trying to pin and then pulling them out of the ring, of course, like they always did. And then, like, with Bailey getting the pin, like you said, they're setting up for a championship. But, like, I know we're not going over the weeks of matches, but Bianca did ask Bailey, did she want a match? And Bailey said, in time. You know, she's like, right now I'm taking care of Dakota and Sky, but, you know, you're going to get your match in time. But, you know, that's on down the road. But yeah, that is setting it up for that, but she's just not ready for it right now.
No, I definitely would like to see her work a few more matches before she's really back to that kind of a high stakes level match in a way.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed the match, and but it's like her getting the pin. That was what, you know, Bailey was like, ha ha ha, I pinned you, and now I get to brag about it. So that was like what Bailey wanted right there.
And I also thought it was a good move to make sure we had the heels win this. I mean, the absolute shocker that Io Sky and Dakota Kai did not win the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship on a previous Raw. To me, it kind of didn't really give them much for momentum in this match. But now, going into this match, getting the victory, they're going to get their championship opportunity on Raw here shortly against the tag team champions of Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah. So, I thought it was a good move. Makes the heels look a little strong. And I think we're going to, for sure, definitely see some continuation with these six ladies.
But which, you know, they're saying that Dakota was not even the legal person to be pinned. So they're really saying that Aaliyah and Raquel are not even really the women's tag champions, is what they're saying. Because there's that whole controversy of that. They're not really the women's champions because Dakota was not even the legal person to be pinned.
Oh,
so they're still saying that.
Yeah, see, I didn't even pay attention to that part, and usually I'm on top of it when it comes to the tag team matches.
Yeah, that there's that whole thing right there because Dakota wasn't even legal and she was pinned, and so that's that whole thing right there. So everybody's saying, well, what's really going on with that? And there's a lot of people just trying to say that they're maybe holding out for Naomi and Sasha to come back. So I really don't know where that's heading. But I don't, you know, that's, like I said, that's a whole different story. But yeah, with them winning at Clash of the Castle, that's really setting up a whole bigger thing, I'm feeling like.
Right. And I think it'll definitely be interesting if they decide to bring Sasha Banks and Naomi as a tag team because they really never lost the championship either.
No, they didn't.
So yeah,
I think it's going to be setting up for a whole bigger thing if Naomi and Sasha do come back between Dakota and Sky. That's going to make it feel bigger to me. Is what I'm feeling.
Well, I think if they can push it long enough, they wait until Survivor Series before they bring Sasha back. If they bring her back, from what it was sounding, Sasha's still kind of giving the cold shoulder to WWE. In kind of some ways, I can understand that, assuming those rumors are true.
Yeah. I bet everybody's been telling me, oh, it's dead set she's coming back. But, I mean, if you're hearing something different, then yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Rumors can always afloat, and they always change every minute, so.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, let's go on to match number 2, which I felt this really was not only the match of the night. In a way, this really should have main evented the night. The Intercontinental Championship match, Gunther with Imperium, all 3 members returning. Gunther gets the victory over Sheamus, who was accompanied by the Brawling Brutes. This was a very physical match between the two. You have Walter's strikes and chops going against Sheamus's brutal 10 beats of the barrage. And we even see Sheamus break out an old move he hasn't used in years, the Celtic Cross. I can't even remember the last time he used that. I think it was back when he was actually... Either he was still the heel the first time, or... I don't remember him using it ever during his tenure as a face, but I could be wrong on that. However, these two, they you definitely saw the marks on both their bodies on the aftermath, and I love the fact the crowd really gave Sheamus his standing ovation and very well deserved respect. And these two definitely put a lot of respect back onto the Intercontinental Championship. How did you feel on that?
I really enjoyed the match. It was a very grueling match. They both really just beat the hell out of each other. That's what I expected, and it received a 5-star review from I think Dave Meltzer. I think it was.
Really?
Yeah, it received a 5-star. I think it was Dave Meltzer gave it to him 5-star. But yeah, it was a very good match, and Sheamus's chest afterwards. Oh Lord, he posted the pictures and everything. It was awful, but yeah, it was a very good match. But it definitely was match of the night.
Well,
but yeah, it received a 5-star.
Wow, I'm gonna have to go back and actually screenshot that because
yeah,
you don't ever see Meltzer give any WWE or WWF match a 5-star.
Yeah,
and that is.
It was Wrestling Observer. Isn't that Dave Meltzer?
Yes.
Yes, it's 5-star.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to go screenshot that and put it in a frame. All right, going into match number 3 for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This was definitely one of the most interesting matches given the circumstances from the previous Premium Live event. Liv Morgan gets the victory over the Queen of Spades, Shayna Baszler. And this definitely made Liv look more as a champion than her last match with Ronda Rousey. Liv was able to do a lot more in this match, getting her Oblivion move clean on Shayna Baszler, trying to attempt several submission moves. She actually looked like she was ready to take it to Shayna, and like how she did with Rousey.
Yeah, she really did good this time. Of course, Shayna targeted her arm and everything like I knew she was because her arm was injured, but she really did. She really felt good this time, and she was able to hold her own, I felt like.
And, the thing I liked about Baszler was she's almost kind of going back to her Queen of Spade-ish character. She kept attacking Liv's arm like a predator smelling blood. Though I wish they would have had her be even more aggressive throughout the match. It just only seemed like that there was only one part in the match that we kind of saw her old self come back to.
Well, Ronda is after her. Ronda is trying to get her to come back to her full self. So I think it's coming. I think Shayna's going to be full back like she's supposed to be. Because Ronda is after her, like, you're going to come back. You're going to be that person again. What basically is what she's saying. So I think it's coming.
Yeah, I think definitely if we get a rebuild of Shayna now that Hunter's in charge, and where Vince kind of crapped on her a little bit, I think these two could even be a great tag team, or even the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions at some point.
I think that would be awesome.
Or if you could get Charlotte and Becky to kind of reconcile in a way, it'd be interesting to see the 4 horsewomen of MMA go against the 4 horsewomen of WWE.
Oh yeah, I could see that too. Yeah, that'd be something right there.
But yeah, it definitely made Liv Morgan look a little better. The only problem is I think we're just a little too late, and unfortunately that. I'm gonna kind of take a quote from Austin Boyer from the Wrestling World, a really good podcast for any wrestling fan to really listen to because Austin does a great job with his research. He made it a note to say that Liv Morgan getting booed is somewhat a little unfair due to the bad booking and fans hating on her. That really shouldn't happen, and I agree. I do think WWE's booking was really terrible on that. Unfortunately, it's a little too late, and it's hard for fans to take Liv a little more serious as a champion based off that. But who knows, maybe working now in the future, as we all know, Ronda Rousey won the Fatal 5-Way at this past week's SmackDown to become the number one contender for the championship again. Who knows? It will definitely be. It definitely could go either way. I could see Liv retaining the championship or Ronda winning it and possibly work a feud with Baszler. Who knows?
Well, one thing that kind of turned people sour on Liv was when at SummerSlam when she was tapping out and the ref didn't see it.
Well, yeah, and, that's where I was saying the bad booking. Yeah. That was just bad booking.
Because that's what made people boo her, when she came back to Raw, because it's like she was tapping out, but the ref didn't see it, and that was just totally dumb on WWE's part. Like, why would you even do that? And then, like you said, now Ronda's the number one contender, so it's going to be good to see which way it goes. Does Liv retain, or do they let Ronda have the belt back? It's just, where do we go from here?
Yeah, it's going to be anybody's guess right now. Probably make for a good DraftKings bet, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Maybe we can even get WagerWire to maybe do something like that. Or does WagerWire do anything like that, Carolina?
They are planning on doing something with in the future here, probably by early 2023. So, I'll keep you all updated.
Oh, yes, please, definitely. I would definitely like to do something like that, like participate in something that they would do if they do decide to go with that route. All right, let's go into match number 4. This one was this one was the one I think everybody was calling from a long shot. It was just a matter of when it was going to happen. Edge and Rey Mysterio defeat the Judgment Day. My highlights from that match was watching Edge spear Damian Priest right through the ropes onto the floor. That was killer. And then the really interesting part, Rey Mysterio taking out Ripley, who was holding Dom pretty much like a rag doll in a way. But the real funny part was trying to watch Edge do an attempt with the 619. And then Corey Graves, of course, has to throw in his smart-ass comment. That looked more like a 519, which not quite sure what he was saying there. Maybe it wasn't all round, of course. But the really surprising fact after the match, Dom turns on Edge by giving him a nice low blow and throws a clothesline right on his own father. This was Dom's official heel turn that I think everybody's been calling for, but I don't know. I kind of felt like WWE kind of waited a little too long on this. It'd be nice to see Dom break away from his father and be his own man. I just think he was paired up with his father way too long.
They've been teasing it for way too long about him turning heel and turning on his dad and everything. So it was expected. It just. Everybody's like, oh no big surprise there. He turned, and it just was going on way too long. And then when he joined the Judgment Day on at Raw, it was like, oh yeah, there it is. Like, duh, we knew. It was just too obvious.
Right.
But for me, in my opinion, I think it's dumb for him being in Judgment Day. He just does not fit to me. He just does not fit. But I mean, maybe as it goes on and he develops more and into his character, and maybe it'll make more sense. But as for me right now, he does not fit in there, and it just does not look right. But it is developing, and maybe it can mold better and fit, and it'll look right. But it just right now, it just does not work for me.
No, I don't know. Maybe you agree with this. I think maybe he just needs some time down in NXT to develop a little more.
Yes, I agree.
All right, going to go on to match number 5. Seth freaking Rollins gets the victory over Matt Riddle, and this is probably one of the most interesting feuds, because if you're not paying attention to, I guess, some of the real life situation, anybody who has been knows Rollins and Riddle actually has some real heat between each other outside the ring. It's kind of gotten a little personal back when Riddle was still married to his now ex-wife. I guess she said some things that were not real favorable to the talent backstage, and Rollins was the one person that took exception to it and stood up for a lot of the talent. However, it seems though their real life heat though meshes them a good program together in the ring, and I think we're going to see a continuation of this feud going on, especially with the way Rollins keeps throwing Randy Orton in there, trying to play with Riddle's head, saying, when Randy comes back, he's just going to turn on you because you're a loser. And I love the way that Riddle kind of has a little more seriousness to his character, not just being, the happy pothead, of course. He's definitely been showing a more competitive side in ring, but I would like to see a little more out of Riddle for sure.
Yeah, he has been way more serious and more focused. He's not focused like he should be, though. He is letting his anger and his emotion really take control. He needs to focus more and stop letting the emotion take over. Because that's what cost him in the match, was he was letting his anger just totally take over. And Rollins, he don't care. He just really don't give a fuck. He's in there to wrestle, and he's doing what he can and to win. And Riddle is just all out there, emotion, anger, carrying on. And he really needs to take more and focus on winning, and not just, oh, I'm just going to beat the hell out of him, type thing is what got me with that match. But it is good to see a more serious side of Riddle.
For sure. Then we go into match number 6, the main event of the night. For the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, Heather's man, Roman Reigns, retains against Drew McIntyre.
Boo.
Let's hear your insight on this first, because I'm sure you got a lot to say on this.
Well, okay, when I heard that Solo Sikoa was called up to SmackDown, I knew what was up. Because, already the Usos and Sammy and all them were not going to be there because they were injured, on SmackDown. So when I saw that he was called up to SmackDown, I was like, oh yeah, there you go. That's what's up. He's going to interfere in the match. So of course he did. And I just got to put this in there. The highlight of the night was when Tyson Fury knocked the hell out of Theory. Yes, that was just the highlight right there. I love that.
Here we go with Heather again.
Well, that's why I let her go first, because I knew she was going to have a few things to say there.
Every week people be listening to this, be like, where is she? And here comes Violet Heather. But
yeah, because when he come running down there, because of course, the ref had to get bumped out of the ring, because I knew, I saw it coming from a mile away, because the ref got knocked out of the ring, and then here comes Theory. He's going to cash in, and then Tyson Theory just floored his butt, and I was like, oh yeah. And then of course, here comes Solo, pulls Drew out of the ring, and then there you go. And then the never-ending bloodline. So yeah.
But you have to give props to Fury, because he made that punch look so damn real.
Oh yeah, he did. And then to come on Raw, and he was still messing with his jaw, and it hurts, and he's wiggling his jaw and carrying on, and he couldn't hardly talk. And yeah, I loved it. It was just perfect.
Well, I think you covered everything I was going to mention, so I figured, what the hell, let's give Heather this segment. I have to say, the only thing that did bug me, though, was the post-match with Tyson Fury and Drew McIntyre singing. Because, I think everybody was really hoping Drew was going to have that moment in his home area with winning the championships, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But it does definitely go to show, there's more to, life than sulking and disappointment in a loss. And it was kind of nice to see the crowd kind of sing along with the guys, but that just kind of takes away the pro wrestling value of the product there.
Yeah. They said something about that part wasn't even supposed to air, that it was just supposed to be like off the air, but for some reason they went ahead and let it go on the air is one part that I saw somewhere.
Oh dear, yeah, that's definitely one I would have kept off, because that would be similar to like the curtain call with Shawn Michaels, Hunter, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall years ago, many years ago. You know, there's just some things you don't want aired, and that definitely probably shouldn't have been one of them, but oh well, what do you do now? It's already done and undid. It's almost like spoiler alerts. It's going to happen, so just gotta get over it. With that said, that wraps up with the WWE Clash at the Castle. Does anyone have some takes that they want to give on it?
So, I do have a question, though. So, were there any other violent things that you enjoyed in WWE this week, Heather?
No, that was the highlight.
Samoans or anything like that? Did the Usos, were they still on?
Oh, the Usos, the Usos didn't come on. They was on last week on Friday, and then they got decimated by Drew McIntyre. But that's why they weren't at Clash of the Castle. So yeah, that was awesome. But yeah,
Roman Reigns. Let's have a Roman Reigns update. What happened there?
Well, I mean, he got Claymore by Drew McIntyre and everything. That's why he was about to lose the title, which is not really, because they're not going to let him lose the title. But that's when Solo came in and pulled Drew McIntyre out of the ring, and that's how he kept his title, because Solo came in and just pulled Drew McIntyre out of the ring, and then ended up hanging him up on the top rope, and then Roman speared him, and he kept the title.
Okay.
Yeah, that bloodline keeps going for all eternity.
So, yeah, does he have a mic to speak? Because Jason, he always has insight, so I just want to make sure he has a mic to speak. But yeah, I'm just glad that we got our bloodline update, because I know how much you love all of them. John, do you want to, Jason, is it okay? Did you want to say something real quick about WWE?
Yeah, only thing I'm going to add, because I just wanted to give my just a whole roundup when near the end of it. Heather talked about Tyson Fury knocking out Austin Theory. That was funny. The second funniest thing of the night was the Cardiff crowd serenading Bayley. Bayley was supposed to be the heel, and they just kept it all throughout the match. They were just singing to Bayley. And I liked how Bayley was playing to it. Like, she tagged in, and they all cheered and started singing to her, and she tagged out, and they booed her, and then they sung back to her. I mean, that was fun to watch. That was very funny. But everything else, I want to save just a little bit of everything else towards the end of it.
And we're back. We're going to get right into WWE's NXT Worlds Collide. The special thing about this event is most wrestling fans know NXT UK is no longer. They've decided to scrap the UK brand, and they're now going to transition into NXT Europe. Unfortunately for the UK talent that held championships, they're going to have to redo all the championships, so we had quite a few title unifications on this card, and this premium live event did not disappoint. The unfortunate part, again, though, is watching a lot of the talent that are going to be no longer, but hopefully some of them will get picked up on new contracts with either NXT 2.0 or will be a part of the new NXT Europe. With that being said, let's go into the opening match for the North American Championship. Carmelo Hayes defeats Ricochet, which was a very modern day wrestling match as far as how athletic these two are. They had a fair amount of not just technical skills, but very good high flying moves. We saw a moment where Trick Williams gets involved, of course, gets Ricochet distracted just enough, and after both Ricochet and Carmelo Hayes get all of their arsenal in their bags, which didn't really find a way to conclude, we see Carmelo Hayes get the old school roll-up win on Ricochet, which I thought was a pretty good move. And I thought Carmelo Hayes looked so awesome. You can definitely tell this guy is ready for main roster level. What was your take on that match?
I really enjoyed it. All the high flying, both of them were really good high flyers, and then the technical wrestling was really good. And then they were like knew each other like so well. They like had the same ideas on several different occasions and collided like mid-air a couple of times. But like the match was like really enjoyable. Just the way they worked together and stuff, and like except for with the outside involvement, I didn't like that. But of course, that was to be expected with him being outside of the ring. But yeah, I really enjoyed the match.
What would you think if they were to move Carmelo Hayes to the main roster right now?
I think he's ready. I think he would do really good there.
Yeah, and to have a talent like Ricochet work with Carmelo Hayes, where they are so similar in styles, I thought they complemented each other very well on the chemistry.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, I really enjoyed the match. Like, I like Ricochet anyway, and I've not really watched a lot of NXT, but I really enjoy watching Carmelo Hayes wrestle, and like he really does good. Like I love the high flying. A lot of people don't like that. They call it the flippy shit. I'm sure you've heard that term before. But like I enjoy it. Like it's just the athleticism, the everything, just the way they just worked well together, and just the match. I enjoyed the match. I really did.
Well, and I find the people that call it the high flippy or the high risk flippy shit basically are those who are really old school fans that still want wrestling to be like it was back in the late 70s, 80s, and early 90s. And there was a guy that was on my timeline for an AEW event where I was live tweeting, and he just kept throwing his nasty comments in there saying, what kept these old school heels win cleanly? And I'm like, well, that's the reason why they're a heel. I said, yeah, well, back in the 80s and 90s, they didn't have to do that. Well, sorry, boss, this is 2022. I mean, we're 30, 40 years past that. I mean, everything evolves in time, Things change, and a lot of that is people just don't want to change. But yeah. I thought for being two modern day talents performing all those aerial and high flying or high risk flying moves, they did a really great job keeping it under control in there. And there was very little mistakes by either man in there.
Now it's just like I said, like they thought at the same time to do the same move. Like they did collide mid-air a couple of times, but that was just telling you that they were on the same page. That they knew each other, and like, oh, he's going to do this, and then boom, mid-air. But like that, it worked that well together.
For sure. Going right into the second match of the night, it was the Fatal 4-Way Elimination Tag Team match, my apologies, to unify both the NXT and the NXT UK Tag Team Championships, in which we see Pretty Deadly once again get the gold, defeating the teams of the Creed Brothers, Gallus, and Briggs and Jensen. I thought it was a semi-decent match. I wouldn't say it was something that was wow, but it was good. The only thing that I kind of had a pet peeve with was the Creed Brothers, or not Creed Brothers, my apologies. Briggs and Jensen get eliminated first, and then Gallus, which I didn't have a problem with that, but it was just the involvement of the two teams being eliminated. They're having a brawl still, in the backstage, and then they bring their brawl out to the ringside, and probably one of the worst ref bumps I've seen in history. They take out the ref, who is now not able to see what all's going on in the ring. We see Pretty Deadly about to attack the Julius Creed with a chair, and Damon Kemp stops that attack. And, we see Julius give props to Damon Kemp, but then we see Damon Kemp pick up the chair, and lo and behold, takes a surprising turn and whacks Julius right in the back with that chair, and gives Pretty Deadly the big opportunity to take advantage and get the pinfall and become the new unified NXT Tag Team Champions. I don't really have a whole lot on this match. Do you?
No, I don't really, because I thought it was rather stupid, the whole brawling and bringing it outside, and then the ref taking the bump like he did, and then Damon Kemp turning on him, which, I mean, I guess with everybody that watched NXT, they pretty much saw it coming, because I went back and saw some things where he was kind of not getting recognized like he thought he should. So that's why he turned on them. But, it just really was stupid to have the continuing brawl like that, and then the ref, that bump, really, I mean, that it just was unnecessary. But yeah, now they're the unified champs. Pretty Deadly is, so that's where we're at.
So actually, you kind of in a way saw the date. Well, I mean, before you saw Damon Kemp pick up that chair and whack Julius in the back, did you actually see that coming?
Yeah, I did.
And see, that one I dropped the ball on, because it actually kind of shocked me to see Damon Kemp turn his back on the Creeds. I mean, I saw the setup in ring, but I guess I didn't really pay attention to the fact that Roderick Strong was laid out bloodied in the parking lot. And maybe that's probably where I was oblivious to it. But the creative done such a great job with kind of showing Roderick Strong is the problem with Diamond Mine throughout the last few weeks, in which some cases he kind of was, but the one thing that didn't make sense was when they had Julius catch something on tape where Roderick Strong inadvertently kneed him. That one was kind of well, I don't know. I think Julius is kind of off there, because I don't think Roderick Strong, in a way, made it look obvious he was attacking him.
Yeah. But I just some of the other things that I had looked at, it just seemed like he just felt like he wasn't getting the respect that he deserved. So I kind of expected it. Yeah,
and then we definitely listened to him on NXT this past week, bringing up all his past things, where I guess he had lost to Brutus, or he defeated Brutus. I can't remember. It was a match that was many years ago. But then, he felt he was always disrespected by the Creeds, and Roddy was always kind of condescending him in a way, so.
Yeah.
But, yeah, good call. Then we go on to the triple threat match, where we're unifying both the NXT and the NXT UK Women's Championship, and this was definitely, I would say, my shocker of the night, because this did not go the way I was thinking. We have Mandy Rose defeating and unifying the championships against Blair Davenport and Mako Satomura. I really thought Blair Davenport was going to be the victor in this.
I was thinking that they was going to let Mandy Rose keep it, because she has had it for 313 days.
Yes, and she's about to, I think, pass Shayna Baszler as the longest reigning women's champion.
Yeah, so I mean, I really was expecting her to keep the belt. I really was, and because I didn't think they was just going to turn around and let Blair Davenport come in and win like that. So it really went as I expected.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely made sense to have Mandy win and unify those titles. But it really could have went in any direction with all three women, because Blair Davenport and Mako Satomura are really well-known talents outside the U.S. They've made names for themselves in all the other promotions. And
Yeah, Miko, they said she had the belt for 430 days.
yeah,
I was shocked at that. I was like, wow. But then she came in and lost to Mandy Rose like that. But they said Mandy Rose, this is her third longest reign since 2018. Yeah, see, I pay attention to details.
yeah, yeah. Well, good job. At least I got a co-host that does. No, just kidding. No, William actually does a decent job. I think he gets a little lost sometimes, but I do too as well, because there's some things I don't catch all the time either. There's just so much to watch anymore that sometimes you get a little lost in the fold.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to make up for it for me not watching NXT. So
anyhow, no, I thought this was definitely Mandy Rose's best match in her career. She was well ready for it, especially going up against experience like Blair Davenport and Mako Satomura. There's just no better way to put a younger talent over like Mandy, and it was just done right.
yeah, I mean, she's really done really good since she's come back to NXT. Like, she like the whole thing that she was doing when she was on Raw and SmackDown and everything. It was just I don't know. It was just the whole thing with Otis and all that. It just wasn't working. And when she went back to NXT, she just was really kicking ass. And the whole thing with her, the Toxic Attraction and all that, I'm just like, she's just been doing so much better since she's been in NXT. And I think it's really improved her career and going, and like I said, 313 days as the NXT Women's Champion, and now she's Unified Champion. I think she's doing an excellent job.
Yeah, it definitely was a right move for her to go back to developmental, and it's done her a lot of good. We're going to go ahead and move on to the fourth match of the night, which was for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship. Caden Carter and Katana Chance retain against WWE main rosters Doudrop and Nikki, Almost Superhero. And this was a match where I think definitely the main roster talent looked much superior than the NXT talent. I would hope that's the way you would, in a way, kind of have creative-wise for having the... Not to be redundant, it definitely makes sense to have the main roster talent kind of look more dominant than the developmental. Not saying that Katana Chance and Caden Carter aren't up to the same level as main roster, but they will get there. I mean, they just became the tag team champions not too long ago, and they've been in NXT for 3 years now, and they definitely shown a lot of improvement and very good team chemistry. I think with this win, though, was a little tainted because we saw Toxic Attraction come in, and kind of what was a weird move. We're watching a heel team come in to distract the heels of the match. That's something you don't see very often in the wrestling world, creative-wise. But I think after watching this match and what we saw on SmackDown, it was kind of evident that we were going to watch these two teams go at it, and they did on this previous weeks of SmackDown. I don't really have much more to say on this. What do you think of the match overall?
I mean, it was an okay match, is all I'm going to say. I'm not really fond, like I said, of the whole Nikki ASH gimmick anyway. And then like Toxic Attraction coming in and distracting. To me, that the whole thing did not even make sense anyway. But which of course the tag champions won. So I guess that's all really that matters.
Well, and I think the only reason this match happened was they were pretty much the only champions that weren't really going to be on the card. It was more they just needed a quick challenger, and unfortunately Doudrop and Nikki were the sacrificial lambs. It just didn't, to me, it just didn't make sense to have main roster talent come down for it. I would have rather seen somebody like Leon and Feroz, or even Toxic Attraction to have another shot at it. That
would have made more sense to me right there. That one would have.
Or hell, even have Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark. I mean, we have lots
Yeah,
of options there, and to me, I think the creative dropped the ball on that one.
definitely.
Then we go on to the main event for the unification of the NXT and the NXT UK Top Prize Championships. Braun Breaker defeats Tyler Bate. And it was a good match overall. You definitely felt the crowd was more for Tyler Bate than they were Braun Breaker. Unfortunately, though, Breaker was the victor. But the fans didn't really hold a grudge, unlike some other pay-per-view. We'll get to that in the next segment. It was, we saw the power of Tyler Bate being a small, scrawny guy compared to a big, powerful-looking guy like Braun Breaker. It was pretty much a David versus Goliath. But Tyler Bate definitely showed his veteran experience in the ring. I mean, this guy was the youngest top prize champion in WWE history. He won the NXT UK Championship at the age of 19, and that says a lot for putting a championship on a guy that young in any promotion. Tyler definitely made Braun look really well, but Braun, probably within the last year, I would say, has definitely been one of the most improved talent in the company.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching Braun wrestle. Once again, apologies. I don't watch much of NXT, but every time that I've seen him wrestle, I've really enjoyed it. He's got a really strong wrestling style. I enjoy watching Tyler Bate wrestle too. He's really good wrestler, and just the match overall was just really good. They have good work together, chemistry, just all together. Just really enjoyed the match, the back and forth, and it wasn't just all one-sided. It was just just good match overall.
It was. My only bummer part was I think I would have went more with Bate unifying the titles, because I kind of think he's more the face. He would be more fitting as the face of NXT. However, creative told us different right there. So
Yeah, I agree. I think he would have done real good as the face of NXT, but everybody's real wanting Braun Breaker right now. A lot of people are real big on him, but then Tyler Bate does have his fans, because the crowd was more into him, but for some reason, well, not for some reason, because Braun Breaker is a good wrestler, they are building him up. So.
yeah, I think it's just going to be a matter of time before we see Braun hit main roster. Hopefully with the family legacy name, not the Breaker, but more the Steiner.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to conclude our takes on NXT Worlds Collide. I think really Jason is the only one that gives much input, but hey, Jason, did you have anything you want to add to this?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty nice. Premium live event. Nothing really outstanding. Nothing really stood out, and I'm not saying it in a bad way. Outside of the Ricochet and Carmella Hayes match, no wow factor. I think everything kind of went exactly on how I expected it. The Mandy Rose match, for example, as much as I wanted to see B. Priestley win that one, Blair Davenport, kind of knew Mandy Rose was the best one to give it to. That was the right outcome, and I can see her title reign as this year is closing out, pretty much coming to an end. I mean, you got Toxic Attraction already on the main roster right now, so it's not going to be for long for Mandy Rose to come back to the main roster. So let's give her swan song for the title, whether it be B. Priestley or Nico that she drops the belt to. So that was the right call. For Braun Breaker and Tyler Bate, I was expecting Braun Breaker to win. I agree with you guys, and I agree with everybody else in the podcast world that was saying that Tyler Bate Should have been the right call. That's the right person that you want to probably build 2.0 on around, because Braun Breaker has been main roster ready for a while. My only thing is, and I didn't have a problem with it, because when do you bring Braun up? And like right now is not a good time. If you're following the main roster storyline, I would think as early as say post Survivor Series or Royal Rumble, or about as late as post WrestleMania. But nothing really stood out outside the opening match. So that's my take right there.
No, I totally agree. I think everyone felt that online that the Carmelo Hayes and Ricochet match was definitely match of the night. The only thing I will touch on Braun Breaker, I don't think he's main roster ready yet, but I think he will be called up soon. I think eventually he will be probably one of the surprise entrants for the Royal Rumble at earliest. I can't really see them wanting to bring him in before the year ends. I think it would be a huge mistake for one, but two, like I said, I would like to see him. This is the one time where I would say I would like to see a name change. Get rid of the Breaker and have him go to the Steiner name to live the family legacy out.
That name's kind of grown on me, though. The Breaker name has grown on me. And the thing about it is, we all know who he is now. If you haven't not watched, if folks go on Braun Breaker, you haven't seen the WWE Hall of Fame where he inducted his father and his uncle, and then just look at him. You can tell the boy is a spitting image of his dad. So I think we all know that. The Breaker, like I said, the Breaker has grown on me. So the name change to me, I mean, yeah, if you want to go to Rex Steiner or whatever, that's fine. But to keep it as Braun Breaker doesn't bother me. It's about main roster ready. You're looking for somebody to build up and take the U.S. title off of Bobby Lashley. That is the perfect person. He, to me, in my opinion, is the perfect person to take that U.S. title off Bobby Lashley. Because you look at everybody else on that Raw roster. I mean, I'm not going to want to put him back in the ring, Lashley back in the ring with a guy like AJ Styles, even though AJ Styles is a great person to carry that U.S. belt, or The Miz, or even Tommaso Ciampa. So Breaker is the perfect person, in my opinion, to do that. And that's why I said what I said, is about as early as Survivor Series, because you can build that guy up by Royal Rumble to take that U.S. title off Bobby Lashley. Or even post WrestleMania. If you really want to keep the U.S. title on Bobby Lashley to really make that title mean something for the Raw roster, just keep it on Bobby Lashley. He's been having a lot of matches, and barring injury, keep it on him. And then, like, he wins WrestleMania, and then the Raw after WrestleMania, Lashley's like, I've been through this entire roster. Nobody can take this U.S. belt off of me. And then, you got Braun Breaker going to challenge him. And then you just build him up until the WrestleMania Backlash, and then Breaker takes the title, and now you got Braun Breaker with a workhorse title. You prove that he belongs in that main roster. So that's where I was coming from for that.
All right, we're going to get right into the AEW pay-per-view All Out that took place last Sunday. We're just going to get through the 0 hour. There really isn't a whole lot because there was a lot of matches this whole card. The only thing I hate about AEW pay-per-views as of late is they're 4 hours long, which can wipe you out. I mean, with the NXT Worlds Collide and the combination of AEW, that was well over 8 hours of wrestling, which is pretty tiring day for most wrestling fans. But going into the results of the 0 hour, we had the intergender I guess you call it the mixed gender tag match. The team of Sammy Guevara and Tay Melo defeats the team of Ortiz and Ruby Soho. For the FTW Championship match, Hook, pretty much in good style, defeats Angelo Parker. And post-match of that, we had Action Bronson, who pretty much gave Hook his acknowledgement there, as I guess they're friends at some point. Action Bronson comes in and saves Hook from being beaten down by both Angelo Parker and Matt Bernard. In the third match for the AEW All Atlantic Championship, Pac defeats Kip Sabian. And in the final match, Eddie Kingston defeats Ishii. Did you have a whole lot on any of those, I guess you can say, prelim matches, Heather?
Not really, no. I mean, they were good. The Kingston and Ishii match was pretty good. I mean, it was just really them just chopping each other, but it was a pretty good match just to watch them standing strong against each other, and then of course Kingston got the win. But yeah, I just enjoyed watching it. Just fun hour there.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like there was a whole lot of wrestling in that last match period. It was just chop fest.
Yeah, but yeah, the whole 0 hour was it was pretty just like just to kill time for the pay-per-view. But yeah, I enjoyed the 0 hour. But yeah, that last match, I really just really them just chopping the hell out of each other. So yeah.
All right. Well, with that said, let's just go ahead and go right to the main card. Very opening match for the casino ladder match, and this one kind of drove me nuts because I believe this is the first time they've done a ladder match casino wise, right?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, because all the other times it was pretty much a bit similar to Royal Rumble, but Battle Royal, whatever the technical term you want to go by. But I guess, in a way, the match could end even before any of the rest of the participants come out. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I think they would have just been better off sticking to the Battle Royal gimmick. Nonetheless, all the competitors that had drawn cards before the Joker have come out. They battle each other. But then at the end, the Joker, just before the Joker comes out, we see a whole bunch of guys dressed in black and hood coverings come out, attack all the participants. And we see one of them climb the ladder, grab the chip, just to reveal the unmasking. It was Stokely Hathaway that grabbed the chip. And we weren't quite sure where this was going. I think it baffled the fans because everybody went silent. But then the announcement of the Joker was coming down to the ring, which nobody knew the identity because the Joker was even dressed in black and wearing a mask. And as soon as you saw that guy come out, if you haven't been watching wrestling for a while, sure, it was a surprise, but I think it was pretty much safe to say everybody knew that was MJF based off the way the shape of the head and the body language was. What do you think, Heather?
Oh, I knew it was him. As soon as he walked out, the way he walked, just the whole demeanor, everything, I knew. I was like, yeah, that's MJF. I mean, I knew it. As soon as I saw him just walk out there, I thought, oh, yeah, MJF.
Yeah. And I think it was pretty obvious after Stokely Hathaway handing him the chip for the, I guess you can say, victory, in air quotes.
Yeah, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, if you call it a victory. But all I could think of was James Ellsworth helping Carmella win a Money in the Bank ladder match. But anyways, yeah, it was pretty kind of a weird ending to the match, but brought a lot of fan interest because I think the majority of the building pretty much knew it was MJF. Anyways, the Joker never really revealed himself, teased it. That's why I think everybody knew it was MJF just based off the way the body language was going. Then in match number 2 is for the Trios Tag Championship, and which is going to be part of a fun segment we talk after this. The Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks defeat the team of Dark Order and Hangman Adam Page. I really would say this match kept me at the edge of my seat because we saw a few moments where John Silver almost got the pinfall over Kenny Omega, and the fans were really wired as that was about to happen. In fact, there was quite a few bullshit, and that was 3 chants thrown out. But yeah, it was a fun match overall. we saw the unfortunate end where Hangman Adam Page inadvertently gives John Silver the buckshot lariat, as he was actually aiming for Kenny Omega, and Omega ducked out of the way just in time, and yeah, it costed Dark Order that championship opportunity, and new trios champions crowned. It was a great match all around. What do you think?
Oh, I really enjoyed that match. There's so much back and forth, and you was like, "Oh yeah, they got it," and then no, and it's just like it's just the excitement, and just like, and then like the unfortunate end like that. But I mean, I really enjoyed the match. I was just like, I was so into that match because it's just like the excitement, and then you're just like, "Oh no, he's got it, he's got it, he's got it," and then boom, no, and you're just like, But it's like I loved it. I just loved the match. I mean, I really did. I enjoyed it very much.
John Silver is definitely one hell of a wrestler and an entertainer in that ring every time he goes out there. Not just for comedy,
Yes.
but for a smaller guy that can perform a lot of the moves on the bigger guys. That guy can get it done in the ring.
Yes, he definitely can. I enjoy watching him wrestle every time he comes out there. He's really good. He's funny too, but he really knows how to get in there and do the wrestling moves, do what he's supposed to do, and he's just really good. And I hope one day that he does get a chance of being a champion.
I think it will eventually happen. I just hope Tony Khan's able to keep him and Reynolds around. I really hope he can keep the Dark Order around, but who knows? We may be seeing a change here soon with 10. Let's hope not,
Yeah.
but I can see it going that direction.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We go into match number 3 for the TBS Championship. The champion Jade Cargill retains against Athena in what was a very, I guess you can say, much dominated match by Athena. Unfortunately, the baddies get involved and pretty much cost Athena the match. It was not one of the greatest matches on the card, but I do like the fact they had Jade still continue her undefeated streak. She's still improving in the ring. You can watch it every match she has. The question is, who do we have defeat her for that championship now?
I mean, I was hoping it was going to be Athena. I really was, but I didn't expect it, to be at. I really was. I mean, I hope Athena is going to defeat her, but I didn't expect it to be at this pay-per-view. So maybe down the line it can be Athena, but I don't really see anybody else. I thought Athena was a strong competitor, but like I said, I was not expecting it at this pay-per-view. So maybe they can continue, maybe let Jade squash people and like she's been doing, and maybe go have Athena wrestle some more and then come back and maybe have another match, a championship match. I mean, I really don't know, but I don't really see anybody right now because hasn't Jade gone through everybody?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can name off. There's a few you can probably bring up, but we need to get them built up to show why they're deserving of that championship opportunity.
Yeah, because I hope that Athena does take it off Jade. I really do, because I feel that Athena is a strong competitor, but she's just not been there long enough, and I feel like she needs to build up and work and do some more matches and get stronger, and then maybe take it off of Jade. But I can't really think of anyone else right now.
Yeah, and this is something where creative's gonna need to really start looking deep into, because whoever defeats Jade, it needs to be a real special build-up.
Yes.
Because to defeat somebody with an undefeated streak, and since they debuted in the company and holding a title that they've now actually made pretty prestigious, I think they really, really need to make this look very strong.
I mean, especially 37. Oh yeah, it's going to have to be a really strong competitor. Yeah. And it can't be just, they've won a couple of matches. Oh, come on, let's take it away from Jade. No, it's going to have to be something, a really strong build, strong character, everything to come in and just wipe Jade out. Because you can't just, here, I won a couple of matches, I'm going to take Jade's belt away. No, it's not going to work like that.
No, for sure. We have a 6-man tag match. FTR and Wardlow defeat the team of the Motor City Machine Guns and Jay Lethal. It didn't really seem like a wow match to me, other than it showcased Wardlow being a powerhouse. But the really fun moment after the match, though, was watching Dax Harwood's daughter come down to the ring. Well, actually, let me backtrack. I'm sorry. Samoa Joe comes out and helps get Sanjay Dutt back in the ring. Dax Harwood's daughter comes down to the ring after Samoa Joe throws Dutt in there. She grabs his pencil, breaks it in front of him, and then pins him in the ring. And the whole purpose of that was because Sanjay Dutt was wearing a shirt that was kind of mocking Dax Harwood's daughter, that was just battling about having a medical issue, and for whatever reason, it was a good cause for that segment to bring awareness to his daughter's condition, and it was a really awesome moment to watch her get kind of like a little bit of a revenge for someone picking on her.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that because the shirt, it said fight like an 8-year-old brat because he had scratched out a girl, and then she got to come in there and break his pencil, and then of course he got to pin him and kick his ass. Just I'm gonna say it, he got to kick his ass. So
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. I mean, it was a sweet moment after a match that really didn't bring much to the table, but
No,
it was fun nonetheless.
yes.
Then match number 5 really wasn't much either. Powerhouse Hobbs gets the victory over Ricky Starks. It was a very short match. It definitely could have used a lot more time, but the message was clear that we were trying to get Will Hobbs over, and in a way they did. I mean, he showcased his power with that spine buster finisher, and it laid Ricky out for the 1, 2, 3. I didn't really have much on it, did you?
No, I mean, it was there and then over. I mean, which I expected it to be anyway, because Powerhouse Hobbs, that's his name, Powerhouse,
Yep.
is over and done.
Then we move on to the AEW Tag Team Championship, which was pretty much what brought the crowd back into it. It was the team of Swerve in Our Glory, Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, defeating the Acclaimed with Billy Gunn in their corner. And I'll tell you, that Lee and Strickland made the Acclaim look really good in that match. I think we're going to see them actually battle it out again for the AEW Tag Team Championship at Grand Slam, I think it is. I can't remember. I believe that.
I think that they are, but I can't remember exactly where. I know they're battling for it because everybody's saying that the Acclaim is actually going to win the belts this time, but I can't remember what match where they're going to be fighting for it at.
Yeah, and I think there's no more deserving team outside of the Acclaim than Private Party getting those titles around their waist. The one thing,
I think the Acclaimed would be very good as the champions.
yeah, I think so too. They've come a long way because, when they first entered in AEW, they weren't getting any kind of reaction because nobody really knew who they were. And then when Max Caster started getting a little more edgier with his raps pre-match, fans were starting to dig him, kind of like how John Cena was early in his career, John Cena came out, started doing the rap, and people were pulling for him as the heel rapper, and that's kind of like what Caster's been doing, and he's done a really great job.
Yeah.
Anthony Bowens is a real awesome athlete as well. Those two have definitely complemented each other since they paired them up as a tag team. Not having any team experience with each other before, but they've really gelled well with each other.
Yes, they have. I really enjoyed this match. I really liked it. And it's just like the way the audience was, because way Keith and Swerve kept targeting Bowen's knee and everything, and then the audience was getting so pissed at them for doing that because they were so in behind the Acclaimed, and they was like, then they got turned on, Swerve and Lee, and it's just because they were targeting his knee. And because they were supposed to be all for, Swerve and Lee, because they were supposed to be the good guys, but then they got started backing, the Acclaimed and everything, and it's just like Bowen's just fought, with all his heart because he wanted this match. So I'm like, I really enjoyed the match, and I'm sorry for taking over.
No, you're good. You're damn it, you're the co-host. I want you to take over.
But yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the match. I really did. And then the ending when they wanted to do the scissor me daddy ass when Keith Lee did that, to Billy Gunn. I thought that was a fun moment right there.
Yeah, definitely good sign of respect from Billy Gunn to the opposing team. You wish you would see that more often, kind of Ring of Honor style.
Yeah.
Only with scissors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Match number 7 of the night was for the interim AEW Women's Championship. Thunder Rosa again being out due to injury thanks to some bulging discs in her back. It ended up being Toni Storm being crowned as the new AEW Women's Champion, defeating the likes of Jamie Hayter, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Hikaru Shida. And at first, just didn't really seem like much was going on. In fact, the crowd kind of died when Shida was taken out by Baker and Jamie out on the rampway. But then they got back into it as Shida came back from the locker room with 2 kendo sticks, enters the ring and starts whacking away at all the ladies with those 2 sticks. But right toward the other parts, we see Jamie Hayter trying to get a pinfall victory in which probably would have got her the 3 count and become the new champion, but Dr. Britt Baker pulls her off, breaks up the attempt. And, of course, we're going to definitely see some animosity between the 2 ladies here at these next few weeks. I think it's going to set up for a Hayter and Baker feud, which I think everybody's been waiting to see for a while. But definitely congratulations to Toni Storm becoming the AEW Interim Women's Champion. I think if they can keep it on her long enough, I definitely would like to see Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm too for the unification of that match.
Yeah, I'm gonna really enjoy that match too, to see them fight, because they are friends and they were a tag team and they know each other, so that's going to be a really interesting match to see. And I really don't know how I'm going to feel about that one because I like both of them. But to be honest, I think Toni should keep the belt. I mean, I love Thunder Rosa and everything, but I think Toni would be a good champion.
Well, and I think this would be the perfect way to get her right into the heel mode for sure.
Yes.
Or even have Thunder Rosa turn heel one way or another. Have one of those 2 ladies turn heel.
I think, it probably will. I think probably Toni will be the one to turn heel because there's so many people that are behind Thunder Rosa and love her, and she's been the good guy for so long that they might not want her to turn heel right now. But I mean, with the way Toni books stuff, I could be wrong, but they would probably be Toni Storm turning heel.
Yeah.
Don't quote me. Don't quote me.
Well, I think it could go either way, really. I mean,
yeah.
It would make sense one way or another. One of them's got to turn heel. It's just a matter of who.
Yeah.
Then match number 8 of the night, very short one. Wasn't even a minute long officially, if you want to say, from bell to bell. Christian Cage defeats Jungle Boy, who was attacked by Luchasaurus before he even made it through the entranceway. Luchasaurus choke slams Jungle Boy literally right on the metal mesh of the ramp, and you could see those marks right on Jungle Boy's back once he got to the ring. But yeah, Luchasaurus takes it to Jungle Boy before the match officially starts. Jungle Boy tells the ref, "No, I can fight," and wasn't even very long. Kill switch, wabam. Christian Cage gets the 1, 2, 3. The interesting note about why that match was so short, Christian Cage is legitimately injured, and you would think if that was the case, they would just say, look, card subject to change. Christian got injured. He's not medically cleared, but they went on with it anyway. But I thought it was kind of interesting to have Jungle Boy's mother slap Christian as Christian was entering the ring. You'd think we were going to be getting something really good, but unfortunately it is what it is.
Okay, about the Luchasaurus coming out there and attacking Jungle Boy like he did, I think they should have just totally took the match off the card. Christian was injured, so he obviously could not have a match. I think it was just stupid. They shouldn't have even just put it on there. Christian could not wrestle, so just take it off the card. It was dumb, period. It did not even have to happen that way. Just not even put it on there. Luchasaurus attacking Jungle Boy in front of his mother and his sister, like just totally dumb. And I'm glad that his mother slapped the shit out of Christian like she did. End of story.
How do you really feel?
That's how I really feel.
You sure? I think you sugarcoated it just a little bit.
No, I did not.
Okay.
Well, no, I did. Christian's a piece of shit. There you go.
Not a carny piece of shit like he called Don Callis?
Do I? I'm sorry, I missed it.
I was going to say, he's not a carny piece of shit like he called Don Callis a few months ago.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
All right. Well, all right, we're going to go ahead and move on. Match number 9, Chris Jericho defeats Bryan Danielson. It was there. I don't have a whole lot. It was a good, slow-paced match for the guys to work their skills. The unfortunate part, low blow, Judas effect. That was it. I didn't think it was a bad match. Didn't think it was a great match, but it was a solid match.
I liked the match. Did not like the ending. Really, it did not have to end that way. Like, why? I mean, because the match was a good match. Not excellent match, but it was a good match. And to end it like that, like, why? It did not even make any sense.
Well, if history serves me right, isn't Chris Jericho now still undefeated against Bryan Danielson?
I'm really not sure, but I think so.
Yeah, because I believe every match they've had, Chris Jericho is the one that's always went over.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if that's the case, if anybody knows different, don't be afraid to correct me. I'm not afraid to be humbled. Anyways, we're going to go right into match number 10, another trios match. Darby Allin, Sting, and Miro get the victory over House of Black. My only key moment of that was watching Sting get his revenge, spitting the mist into Malachi Black's face, which sets Darby Allin to get the pin and the victory for their team. Again, another match that didn't really seem to wow me or think much of it. How about you, Heather?
No, because at the beginning, Miro really didn't want to tag anybody in. He kept wanting to, take over the whole match. I mean, it was a decent match, but not in my top 10.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting now, see where Miro goes, because as we're recording this now, we found out just the other day Malachi Black requested his release from AEW, and it was granted. So now it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Buddy Matthews and Brody King. I don't know why I forgot his name. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, because they were talking about at the end of that match how he walked up the ramp and blew everybody a kiss and took a bow, because they was wondering had he been granted his release, and then later on we found out that he had. So.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where Brody King, Buddy Matthews goes. Who knows? Maybe they'll pair him up with Miro in some kind of reverse the view type angle. Who knows? Then we go on to the main event for the AEW Championship, and this one's definitely going to spark a lot into our next segment after this. CM Punk becomes 2-time AEW World Champion over, I guess now they call it 3-time world champion Jon Moxley, which I don't know how that really works because it was pretty much deciding one champion between the two. To me, logistically, it makes sense to call Jon Moxley 2-time champion, but I guess they count the interim championship as 3 times, so it is what it is. Depends on how your take is on it. I thought it was a pretty good match between the two. Mox had most of the control, but it was rather interesting because Mox was getting booed as he was going to the ring, and the Chicago was pretty much flooding Punks with chants until about right in the middle, you started hearing more of the Mox fan base come back and getting heard loud and clear. Though there was still quite a few Punk chants going that was just as loud. But right toward the end, we see Punk do a double GTS to Jon Moxley, gets the 1-2-3. And then the post-match, the fans were showering Punk with cheers until the lights went out, and then the cheers went from Punk to MJF. And sure enough, out came MJF flipping off the crowd, holding up the casino chip, showing, hey, I'm ready to cash this puppy in. Thought it was a good card. Overall, not the best card. Again, my only gripe is the pay-per-view is just too damn long. I mean, it started, I think it was 6 o'clock until 4. But yeah, just between NXT, Worlds Collide, and AEW, that was a very long wrestling day. But how'd you feel about that championship match?
I see. I'm not well. I didn't even want Punk to have the belt to begin with. You know, when he defeated Adam Page, I feel like it wasn't even the right time for him to get the belt. But with he's Tony's top star. Well, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. Save it for the meat. Save it for the meat.
Yeah. But he, I didn't even want him to get the belt to begin with. And then he got the belt, he got injured, and then of course, here come the interim championship, which Moxley got. And then of course they had the whole thing where him and Punk and Moxley had the match, and Moxley got the belt, and then now we had the all out main event where he won the championship back. The match was fine, it was great. Of course, a lot of blood, like always, that's what they like. And then Moxley doing his thing where he's licking the blood, that was just like, okay, why? But the match was a good match, but of course I wanted Moxley to win, but which I knew that was not going to happen because of where we were. And of course, with Punk only having the belt for the little bit of time that he did after he got injured and everything. But yeah, the match was it was a match. It just really didn't do anything for me because I like Moxley and I wanted Moxley to win, but it is what it is.
All right. And that's going to wrap up our takes on the AEW All Out pay-per-view. Before we really get into the next segment, which is going to be the AEW controversy, Jason, did you have anything on the pay-per-view event?
It was so far the weakest, and I say it not trying to be negative again, but out of all the pay-per-views that I've purchased and that I've watched from AEW, this was definitely fell short of the last 3 and I'm including the Ring of Honor pay-per-view that AEW has produced. But that being said, it was still a good show. I agree with you, and I've said this on myself, that these pay-per-views are too long. And this pay-per-view was a prime example of some of these matches could have been on Dynamite and Rampage. There were certain matches that I was disappointed. That is a first from AEW from a perspective. The Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks, to have all that build up, and it just ends up the way it ended up. That was disappointing. The Athena and Jade Cargill, good match, sort of, but what do you do now with Athena? Because if you have her go back out there and try to chase Jade again, you're just mimicking what they did in NXT with Athena when she was in Ramon, when Asuka was undefeated down there in NXT, trying to stop her undefeated streak. You're just mimicking that. Is she going to lose to Jade again like she lost to Asuka? These are some of the questions I ask when these matches conclude. And I kind of knew that Athena was going to lose because we talked about, being and friends talked about it, said the last person that was undefeated that she chased, she ended up losing to. And the same result was going to happen. Moving away from that, other than that, the positives definitely was the Acclaim. They were made guys that night. They had to be the stars that night. The crowd being just chanting "Daddy ass" and all basking "Daddy ass" and whatever. That was funny. They were in it from beginning to end. That had to be my match of the night, even though I do think that the trios match finals between the Elite and the Dark Order was a better match. It was just the energy from the crowd from the AEW tag team title match that really put it over the edge for me for that night. Other than that, like I said, I want to reserve what I really want to say about this pay-per-view to the end of it. But like I said, it was a good pay-per-view, but it's probably one of the weaker ones AEW produced. And I'll leave it at that.
So, just out of curiosity, what do you think of the Chicago crowd singing "Oh, Scissor Me Daddy"?
Yeah, that's what they were singing. That's what I was trying to figure out what they were. Yeah, "Oh, Scissor Me Daddy" by taking All Basket from usually sing Keith Lee "All Basket is Glory," and they started that, and then they went from that to "All Scissor Me Daddy." The whole thing was funny, and that's what I'm saying. The energy in that entire match is really what pretty much made that the match of the night. And not only that, it was a great match. The psychology, coming off Rampage with Swerve telling Antonio Bowens, you always let your partner down. Your body always, for your body giving out. You always let your partner down with your body giving out. And that was the primary focus, was going after Antonio Bowens' knee. And you are watching this like, oh, they're really going to do this, and they're really going to do this. Is Antonio Bowens, are they going to really do the injury thing and play into that? That was very well done. That was very well done. And like I said, the Acclaim were made guys on All Out. They pretty much, to me, were the clear MVPs in the losing effort. One more thing, the women's match. I think Jamie Hayter was a made girl. And also with them dying with Hikaru Shida leaving and then waking back up with Hikaru Shida, I'm not saying that it is going to be, but that should be kind of like a wake-up call. The response to Jamie Hayter, the response to Hikaru Shida, that you should not just be centering this division around Jade Cargill and Britt Baker. Because the fans, clearly, there are women on this roster that the fans clearly care about, and they showed you that during this match. They love Sheeta. They love Jamie Hayter. And another one that's out right now with injury, Chris Statlander, is another one that the AEW crowd loves. So hopefully, I'm hoping Tony Khan is paying attention to that, but I highly doubt he is, because Jade and Britt they are the CM Punks of the women division, as far as I'm concerned. I'll land my plane right there.
Yeah, and I agree. I think I've made this mention many times in my previous episodes. I think now's the time for Tony Khan really to just get to the point where he's so busy with other things outside AEW that he needs not just leadership, but he needs a bunch of different teams in different departments, just like any company. He needs someone to kind of lead the company in a way when he's not around, but he also needs to have a creative team and somebody that's real wrestling minded. The biggest gripe I've always had is he's got so much great women talent that he's not showcasing them right. They just need a better spot in the card. They need to get more women's matches going. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't have the answers for everything. I'm not the expert, but for sure you can definitely tell that, just like Jason mentioned, there's some issues there when fans are kind of getting tired of two certain talents having the division centered around them, and it's definitely not the fans' choice of I guess you can say rather choice of, but the fans' cup of tea. Whoops, sorry, I bounced my mic there. But yeah, something definitely needs to change, and Tony Khan really needs to take the time now where he owns two wrestling promotions, not to mention has other business entities outside of those. It's time he starts taking some trust and gets a team together to help run things and get some people who are, like I mentioned before, are wrestling minded.
It's time that Tony Khan stepped up and became a boss and not just a wrestling fan.
Exactly. It's time to kind of get rid of the fandom and start taking control of your company.
This is the thing that made Vince McMahon the boss. He always surrounded himself with people, whether it was Pat Patterson,
Gerald
you
Briscoe.
know, Gerald Briscoe. I'm trying to think of the other guy. His name escapes me. Gorilla Monsoon was also a part of his team. Jim Ross.
Well, and I think Bruce Pritchard deserves some credit too, even though not too
Yeah,
many
well,
people are high on him. But Bruce Pritchard
I'm
does
not
have a
high
good
on
one.
Bruce Pritchard. I'm not high on Bruce Pritchard either, but he always had people around him, and Vince McMahon was always he always had the final say, but he always surrounded himself around people, wrestling minded people that were able to go, they're able to like book the right talent. It wasn't great all the time. But the reason why WWE was successful and why some of those angles and those feuds came off well was because of the people that surrounded Vince McMahon. Getting the right talent, getting the right people to put programs together, you know, making the matches, producing the matches, all, Tony Khan cannot do it all. He cannot do it all, and he's not learning. And it's very interesting to listening to Eric Bischoff talk and his criticisms because he's making the same mistakes. Eric Bischoff had a nice tweet saying that Tony Khan is not learning from the mistakes that he made, and I mean Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff wanted to do everything. He wanted to be one of the boys. He wanted to have total control. Eric Bischoff booking things was like throwing something on the wall and seeing what sticks. And you can see kind of Tony Khan going in that direction right now. And everybody's saying it, man, you need to get a creative team. You need to get a creative team around you. You need to get some guys in the back that can check these egos. And I think we're going to get to that a little bit later. And you need to get somebody for the talent to talk to, because everybody cannot access, Tony Khan's not going to be accessible to all the talent. So there's got to be an in between, to say, hey, calm down. This is what's going on. This is why this is happening. And, something, because what's going on right now, I mean, the fans can see it. And when it gets so bad that the fans can see it, that's never good news. Never.
And now we're right into the meat part of our little episode, as we kind of hinted toward in my tweet earlier in the week. Lots of controversy going on in the backstage part of AEW shortly after the All Out pay-per-view. They have their typical media scrums, and one part that just did not go very well, and anybody who's been paying attention knows CM Punk is a very controversial figure when it comes to speaking his mind, no matter whether it's in the ring, sitting down at the top of the ramp, or even in a media scrum. CM Punk basically called the Elite irresponsible EVPs. He's also called out Hangman Adam Page, basically a few of the other AEW talent, accusing them of leaking stories to press. Sorry, leaking stories to the press about the manner in which influenced Tony Khan's decisions. That did not go over very well, especially with, I would say, mostly the Young Bucks, because it was well documented that Kenny Omega didn't really seem to have as much of the conflict with it as the other two gentlemen. But it led down to a confrontation in Punk's room where the Elite pretty much, I guess, in a way, forced their ways in there, according to Punk and Steel. But those, I guess you can say, later reported that Punk and Steel kind of exaggerated that statement a little bit, because it seems like they kept changing their story as every day progresses. It went from the Young Bucks kicked the door down to the Bucks shouldered the door down, but it was also reported the Punks just, or not Punks, the Bucks just simply opened the door and was confronting Punk, and Punk was not ready to have any kind of confrontation. It ended up leading to where Punk threw the first punch. A chair was thrown. I believe it hit Nick Jackson somewhere close to the eye and gave him a nice shiner. Then eventually Punk's trainer and buddy Ace Steel is biting Kenny Omega, who thought Omega was putting him in a crossface. And the real interesting part is the story progresses. There was two other witnesses, neutral witnesses to this incident. One, which ended up being the chief legal officer, and I know I'm going to butcher this name really, really bad. If anybody knows how to pronounce it, please don't be afraid to step up. I'm trying to find it. I had it on my notes. Oh, shit. Pardon my language. Oh, I want to say it's pronounced Mega Parikh, or yeah, I don't know. I'm terrible with that part. But also, the one thing that was really interesting, the other neutral witness was MJF. And as I kept doing research on the whole situation, it seemed that Parikh was with the Elite when they entered Punk's room. So a lot going into this whole storyline. Well, not storyline, but story. AEW has decided to hire a third-party investigating company to kind of take everybody's insight on how they saw the incident and everything. The one thing that seems a little consistent, though, is Punk and Steel's stories kind of seem to tone down what was initially reported. But it was a much different take, of course, being more of a he said, she said. The Elite had a different take on how it happened, and Punk and Steel had a different take on what had happened. I'm not really sure what went on, because obviously we're not backstage, we're not experts, but this was definitely not a good situation that really started stemming from CM Punk's words on the media scrum after the pay-per-view event. And what's really even more shocking was seeing the legitimate expression on Tony Khan's face, which he really should have found a way to kind of forcibly stop that whole session, and he really should have took Punk to the back and had a talk with him, reprimand him, whatever the protocol is. Heather, do you have anything or know anything more on what I've even mentioned?
No, that's basically what I know, everything that I've heard. And as far as Tony Khan and the Punk, when you looking at Tony Khan's face, you just know that he wanted to be anywhere but there when Punk started talking like he did, and he immediately should have stopped and just took him aside and told him, "Don't do this." Like it was just totally unprofessional what Punk said and did and how he handled everything. But Tony Khan, being not the boss how he's shown himself, he just let it continue, and it just got worse and worse. And of course, there was going to be an altercation backstage. I mean, what did anybody expect? And like the way I feel about things, the whole situation, like you got the people on the side, you know, like everybody's taking sides, of course, because you have your diehard Punk fans and you have your elite fans. Way I feel about it, it never should have fucking happened, because Punk should have kept his stupid mouth shut. Like, and then, like, because in the beginning he came on there and he was all about how he was there to build up the talent, the young talent. He wanted to work with the young talent. Now he's bashing them. Oh, he's tired of working with kids. Like, where do you stand? You know, like, you are totally contradicting yourself. And I'm sorry. Like, he can be the top star. He did not even need that belt. And I don't, you know, which he does not have it now, but which, you know, I mean, I guess we can get into that more later. But yeah, that everything that you said, that's what I've heard.
Right. And the one thing I will say is very consistent is, you know, Punk's been rubbing the locker room wrong for quite some time now. The one thing I will point out that's very consistent is, if you remember the promo Adam Page cut before their championship match, you know, he basically said he's here to save AEW from CM Punk. And then the promo from Jon Moxley when he was the interim champion to face CM Punk to determine who the rightful champion was or is. I guess you can say but Moxley's promo was almost very similar. Moxley said, "I'm in this for my heart," or "this is all about the heart and soul of AEW," and CM Punk was all about the money. So something right there that should pretty much tell the story. Either CM Punk is just not understanding that times have changed and you can't just go out and pipe bomb the place like he did with WWE over a decade ago. Times have changed and you can't just be outspoken, especially when you talk amongst the elite as the irresponsible EVPs. Case Punk doesn't understand, in a way, those EVPs are his boss too. So when you talk down on when you're being negative against the authority, it does not have a good look on you.
No, I mean, it definitely does not, because like the whole thing, like the promos and this and that, like he should not be talking, because they are essentially his bosses, and you cannot be doing stuff like that. And then like I said, what did he expect for them to just lay down and not have anything to say back to him? Like, I mean, seriously.
Right, it was definitely not done the right way. He should have handled all this in private with Tony, the Elite, everybody who he's got issues with. That's the way you do it these days. You don't call them out on a media scrum. You don't call them out in the middle of the ring. You know, unless it's kayfabe. This wasn't kayfabe for sure. Especially with, you know, law enforcement now getting involved in everything. What I do find interesting is the parties involved that were trying to help defuse the situation also got suspended. So here's the list of everybody who's been suspended, courtesy of Meltzer, Wrestling Inc., Fightful Select. So far, the suspension includes CM Punk, Ace Steel, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Michael Nakazawa, Christopher Daniels, Pat Buck, and Brandon Cutler. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 of the names I mentioned, I'm a little on the line of why they got suspended, if they were trying to help defuse it, but I also understand for investigation purposes. I don't think anything much will happen with those 4 I mentioned. However, what we do know is Tony Khan made the decision, as you see the poll up on the Megatron, the Jumbotron, sorry. The Jumbotron up at the top of our space here in Twitter. I sent out a poll tweet. I meant to make it a longer duration, but I had a brain fart. Within 24-hour period of that poll, I asked the question. Let me kind of pull it up here. Or actually, Carolina, can you see the poll?
Yes, I can see the poll.
Okay, would you mind reading that question aloud? Sorry.
Sure. Wrestling fans, how do you feel about Tony Khan's disciplinary action towards all talent involved after AEW's all-out pay-per-view? Sorry.
How you good?
Comments will be off for keeping the outrage in control. This will be discussed in episode 25 of the Wrestling Fans Insight podcast. So the question is, obviously, how do you feel about Tony Khan's disciplinary actions? There were, sure how many people voted, but it shows, like, for mine.
Yeah,
like
31% was said it was more than fair. 41% was the fair. And I think it was like 27% that said wasn't fair enough.
Yeah, and there's 29 votes. There's 29 votes.
Yeah, so, I meant to make that poll go a lot longer than 24 hours. I just, for whatever reason, I keep spacing that.
And I think that and I think it would have been more people had it gone longer than 24 hours. Because I saw it on the timeline, and that people were just they weren't happy for all the people that I follow that are wrestlers or wrestling fans. So, are you surprised by that? Like that people, 41% thought it was fair?
In some ways, yes, because if you really look at it, in any other company, things like this happen. But in a way, I do give props to AEW hiring a third-party investigating company to come take a deeper look at this. My only problem is I do think suspending those involved was the right idea, but I don't think the ones who were trying to diffuse the situation, I don't feel that was fair on their part, but I get it through a process too. My only worry is if the votes were more for was not fair enough, I probably would have been a little scared. But if you look at the fair and more than fair, you're looking at a 72% vote and saying, yeah, Tony Khan kind of did the right thing. And what I mean by that is not just the suspensions, but we also saw that Tony Khan vacated the AEW World Championship from CM Punk and vacated the AEW Trios Championship from the Elite. And that's kind of a bummer because the Elite just won those titles just this past Sunday. So that's an unfortunate way to have a very short celebration of a inaugural championship run there. Not even a run, really. How do you feel? Do you think it was fair, Heather?
I think it was fair that he did strip him of the title, and I guess strip them of the Elite of the titles. Kind of fair. I mean, well, no, that really was not fair because the investigation has not been completed because we really still don't know the full story. I think he could have really held off on that one, on the trios championship until like maybe the full story came out. But the AEW championship, which Punk is injured again anyway, he's underwent surgery, so that was a given anyway. I thank God he didn't do the whole interim championship thing again. Really don't know how I feel about the trios thing because they had really just won the belts, and we really still don't know the full story. But now we already have new champions, so that's kind of a iffy thing right there. But I guess the investigation is still ongoing, so I really don't know. But I'm just going to say it was fair. I'm just going to say it's fair.
All right. Well, I guess in a pun way, fair enough.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, AEW has now decided to host a tournament for the AEW Championship. And then he threw in two random trios teams, at which I was a little flabbergasted why the Dark Order wasn't one of those teams, but then we found out later that night that it was just basically due to injury why Dark Order could not participate. But congratulations to Death Triangle for becoming the second AEW Trios champions. Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of disturbing to see how unprofessional just one person's actions could lead to a whole locker room brawl like this. And it really hurts AEW's image for morale. But on a good note, I guess from what was reported from a couple of the talent on Wednesday night, the locker room seemed to have a much more positive vibe because everybody who was there wanted to move on from the incident, put on a good show, and move forward. And that's pretty much the right attitude for employees who like their job or okay with where they're at in the company.
I have a question.
Go for it.
What was his ultimate goal? What was his end game?
What was what? Sorry.
What was his end game? What was the whole point of doing all this?
Of the whole stripping of the
Not
titles?
Not Tony Khan, but what was the whole point of CM Punk doing this?
I think, in a way, CM Punk is disgruntled with today's wrestling. It's nothing like what it was when he first started. And I think a lot of the older talent have a hard time with that. Well, it's just like even old-time wrestling fans who have a hard time with the wrestling here today. You know, back then you didn't see the high risk, or as Heather would say, the high flipping shit going on, you know.
Right.
Or they don't like seeing how the heels finishing, or the heels winning in the way the match is finished. But the problem is we're not in the 80s and 90s anymore. We're now 2022. Like anything else, like business or any game, sport, everything evolves as years progress, you know. And I think that's a part of Punk's problem is he doesn't gel well with some of the younger guys. I think at first it started off with he felt Hangman Adam Page was going into business for himself when he cut that promo saying, you know, he's trying to protect AEW from CM Punk. And obviously something came from a feeling when he cut that promo, but I think Punk took that promo just a little too personal. And Punk is one of those guys, if you say one negative thing toward you, he's going to go off on you. That's Punk. That's always been Punk's biggest problem is he's his own enemy when it comes to things like that.
Okay. Well, because I was just wondering, because you know, seeing all the people that were upset in my timeline about it, you know, I guess you wonder, you know, what was his ultimate goal? I mean, yeah,
I think his goal was to not just stir it up, but he felt the best way to handle it was disrespect the talent that he felt disrespected on the media scrum. And in a way, yeah, maybe Hangman Adam Page should have thought his promo a little better. But at the same sense, two wrongs don't make a right. And this is one of those big examples of why two wrongs definitely don't make a right. He, being the veteran talent that Punk is, he knew better. He definitely knew way better.
I mean, yeah, he definitely did. Like, and it's just like the whole thing. Like, I've gone back and I've seen different people's posted different videos and stuff of him when he first came on there, talking about he was so excited to work with all the new talent to build them up. He couldn't, like, he was there for the new talent. That's all he kept talking about. And then now all of a sudden he can't. He's tired of working with these kids. Those are the two things that just keep standing out to me, was how he was so excited to work with them. He wanted to build them up. He wanted to do this. And now he's tired of working with kids. Like, those are the things that just keep standing out to me about this whole thing. Like, you can't have it both ways. You cannot be there for the young talent to work with them, to build them up, and then be tired of working with kids. Like, you're not making any sense to me. I'm sorry, that is just the part that is it's just eating me up. That's what I just keep going back to, like, because it's just like when I saw that media scrum, like I watched it and I'm just sitting there just looking at him like, what are you doing? You're saying all this stuff and you're just sitting there. You just look like a grumpy old man. Like, what is your problem? Like, why are you even talking like this? And then for you to even not expect consequences, blowback. And then I got people that keep arguing with me like, well, he just wants better for the business. He just wants it to grow. No, the fuck he don't. You literally think him acting like that is better for the business? He's making it better? No. He's downing everything. These people are his bosses, and he's putting them down. And he didn't think that they were going to have a problem with it. No, you're not going to tell me that he's passionate about his job and he wants better. No, he wants better for himself. And I don't care. You don't like it, whatever. You can block me. You can whatever. I no, he does not want better. He wants better for CM Punk, and that's all that is. And I don't care who like us. That's what I'm seeing. He don't want better for the business. He wants better for CM Punk.
Yeah, interesting take on that. I'm not going to lie, that's kind of how I see it in some ways as well. And I understand his point too. I'm going to try to throw in a couple more things here from my notes. One thing is that it is believed there will be confirmation on suspensions and possible departures after the investigation is over. And actually, I think that's all I had left. Oh, regarding the CM Punk being stripped of the championship, I'm getting two different things. One showing that it's due to injury and he's going to be out quite some time if it's not that his suspension's paid in full or fired by then. It's rumored to be that CM Punk probably will not return to action until early 2023. So, worst case scenario, we don't see him for a few months or we don't see him at all. It's really going to just depend on the investigation. But with that being said, did you have anything else, Heather?
No, I mean, I heard the same thing, that he's out with injury and that he might not be coming back at all.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Tony Khan, I'm sorry, but my stance as a business owner, I probably would have said, I don't know how to diffuse the situation, but I got to take care of business, and right now you're not what's best for business, so I'm sorry, I got to let you go. But I want to hear what the other fans have to say about this situation. Anyone who wants to chime in, please raise your hand so we can make sure we make this very fair here. Go ahead, Jason.
All right. Because a lot of you guys nailed on the head, so I might sound like I'm repeating. That's definitely unprofessional. Just to get into a scrum with the Young Bucks. From what I'm hearing, the Young Bucks story has not changed, and CM Punk and Ace Steel's story has constantly changed and changed and changed. First, it was the Bucks kicking the door down. Then the Bucks was forcing their way in by opening the door. Trying to make it seem like they were the aggressors, but it's like I said, it just kept changing. The funniest thing about this whole thing was the Kenny Omega situation. Him going in there to save a dog, and for his reward, he gets his hair pulled and bit. If that's true, I mean, as sick it is laughing at it, I mean, because sounds like something that Kenny Omega would get into from like other backstage stories. That's just sad. So the man gets suspended for saving a dog, pretty much. But the Punk, I think the Hangman Page promo hit him harder because he heard it before. He heard it in WWE. He heard it from Triple H. Triple H literally said pretty much something very similar to what Hangman Page said. You know, especially when Hangman Page got to workers' rights. Because Triple H told him a long time ago, me and you are a lot similar. But the difference is when I told somebody I was going to run over him, I told it to their face. You, on the other hand, like to go behind people's back. When Hangman Page looked at him at the promo and it said, after all these years, you still don't get it. It circled back to what Triple H told CM Punk right to his face. And that's just my opinion. That's why Punk took what Hangman said personal. Because trust me, Eddie Kingston said things that were a lot worse than what Hangman said. Mox saying that you're back at AEW because you're broke. That was a lot worse than what Hangman said to him in his face. But what Hangman hit him with was something that Punk heard before. That is the one that set him off because it circled its wagons. It's like, I heard this before. And just to keep going, I don't want to keep going in circles. John Cena also said something similar in WWE to what Hangman said to CM Punk, which is why Punk took that more personal than what anybody else pretty much said to CM Punk. That's why he kept calling him out. And I think what Hangman said had to do more with Colt Cabana. It just pretty much the perception is something that CM Punk wants to be perceived some way. And when these guys see the real CM Punk, they're going to step up. How dare you step up and air my dirty dirt? But, bro, if you're doing dirt backstage, don't think that everybody else is not. They're going to stay silent on it. You know, they're not going to say silent. Now, kudos. Now, Hangman Page probably went in business. He's probably wrong. But the way he codified it and the way he worded it is something that if you really had a problem, you talk to him backstage about it. You don't wait months later till you come back from injury, call him out, and then 2 weeks later at a pay-per-view, just go in and just not only rake him over the coals, Colt Cabana over the coals, who hasn't really been on AEW TV. So, you know, to the person who has not watched wrestling, they're going, who the fuck is Colt Cabana? Then you're going to talk about the EVPs, the elite. Bro, before, I know Tony Khan is paying you. I know Tony Khan brought you in there. But if it wasn't for the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega's vision of what they wanted in a wrestling company, you wouldn't be there. So, I mean, maybe I don't want folks. I mean, maybe I don't care if people think that the entire wrestling world, not just AEW. Booker T heard that on his podcast. Booker T said if somebody said that to him at a media scrum about him, he said he would have met Punk right in the hallway, and they would have been fighting. And they would have been fighting every day until forcing Tony Khan to do something. You got guys in the WWE locker room sending subliminal jabs at CM Punk. And it's all on him. It's all. And I will just say, it's all his fault. If he felt the right he needed to defend himself, you know, so be it. But bro, the way you went about it, that's excuse my language. That's some whole shit. Straight up, that was some straight up whole shit. And I'm gonna land my plane right there.
All right, thanks, Jason. Hey, Jay, I see you got your hand up. Go for it.
The word professional was getting thrown around so many different angles around the WWE, or honestly in pro wrestling in general. The word professional was getting thrown around so many different people, how the way they acted, how they handled their business, how they just came off to everybody in the locker room, in the media, or just anywhere. The word professional, I think it applies more to this man than it does to everybody else as of right now. It really does. Because if you're really going to go out and just air your dirty laundry after four months of pent-up aggression, you really could have just did this the easier way and just manned up and just talked to them about it. Then you would have aired your dirty laundry. They would have just had the slate clean. You still would have been on top. They still would have been on top, and everything would have just sailed smoothly. Why can't we be professionals about this crap? Why? That's all I got to say about that. Why can't we be professionals?
Exactly. I mean, this is just. I think we've all beaten the dead horse with this so much that everybody's scratching their heads on why this has gotten so out of line, but it just shows that this is where Tony Khan needs to step up as a boss, because if he didn't let all this talent have so much freedom with what they do or how they go about in AEW right now, none of this would be going on right now. It shouldn't be going on. And it's really not a good look on AEW or Tony Khan whatsoever. Heather, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Did you want to add anything else to it, or?
No, I mean, I said what I said. Like, it's totally unprofessional what he did. There's better ways it could have been handled, and I'm just really want to know what the total investigation is on what really happened, because he unprofessional what he did, and there's his story and Ace's story has changed so much on how the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega entered his dressing room, and just really want to know the total outcome on the story.
All right. Well, we got our first-time participant in the show, Carlos. Carlos has been one of our great listeners ever since we started this podcast. Carlos, the floor is all yours.
Hey, thanks, John. My biggest thing I want to say is, like, the thing that CM Punk forgets is, like, the fact that not everyone else is him. He's so polished on the mic. So when you're going to be like doing a promo feed with somebody like a Hangman Adam Page, who maybe doesn't like have a lot of history, Punk has to realize, this guy might say something I might not like, And so, like, to me, the whole thing is just Punk looking at it from a wrong point of view. He should have realized, hey, maybe he said something he shouldn't have said, but at the same time, I need to let it go. And for me, the biggest thing is, like, it's like what Heather was saying earlier. Tony Khan needs to quit being such a fanboy, is what it comes down to. He needs to be more professional, like not wanting to let go of creative control, not wanting to let other people book his show. It's like he's pretty much acting like a rich guy who has all this money to spend things on. And I mean, the professional wrestling business is better for him, but at the same time, he needs to just let things go and needs to handle things perfectly. Like, one thing I saw, I think it was on one of the reports, I think it was one of the Fightful chats, they were talking about how, Meltzer and them were even going to be at the scrum, and Tony Khan wanted him there. He asked him to come, because he wants his ego stroked. He wants everybody to sit there and say, how good everything was. And he just needs to get things in check and just be more professional about things, and it's like, and just not give people these opportunities. And it's just, to me, it's really sad. I think I shared a good article that somebody wrote about CM Punk on my page, and it's just the truth that this is Punk's ego, and that he's a hypocrite, and it's just a really sad ending to me, and for me, it's like, take all this money that you spent on Punk and go bring people like Alan Angels back, and bring people, the Dark Order back, bring Stu back, bring these guys who built your company on their backs, bring these guys back and let Punk go. It's like, to me, same time, there's money to be made on this. I just think the whole situation's sad, and I think AEW should find a way to work it out, because if they don't, I guarantee you, we'll probably see Punk back in WWE and they'll make money off of this, So I just think, Tony Khan needs to kind of realize this was his Frankenstein too. He created this monster by giving the guys too much power. And it's now time for him to step up like a boss, like everyone else has been saying, and kind of get things back in control and really, make this organization more professional all around. That's all I got to say.
No, I think pretty much the majority of us are right there along with that same viewpoint. Again, situation like this should have never happened. But it also comes down to Tony Khan needs to be more active as their boss. And if he can't do that, he needs to get a crew hired that can take control of this company. And so far, that's what we need to see. I mean, I just can't imagine the chaos that goes on that we don't see. And again, we're not experts. We're not backstage people. We don't get to see what's going on. All we can go off is what's reported. But like Jason mentioned, the consistency says it all right there. Ace Steel and CM Punk's story seems to tone down the situation every time they progress in that. But yet the consistent story seems to come from MJF, Mega Parky, sorry if I butchered that name again, but also from the Elite. It just, something right there shows me that I'm not going to say it's the for sure thing, so don't quote me on it totally. I don't think any of this looks good for CM Punk or Ace Steel right now at the moment. Does it? Anybody else have a final take on this? With no hands up and everything gone silent, I'm just going to go ahead and give credit to PW Insider, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer News, Wrestling Inc., Fightful Select, Wrestling Headlines, and SB Nation for having the resources out there for this type of research. Normally I don't ever get into anything too deep, but I wanted to make sure I got consistencies right on with everything that happened after last week's pay-per-view and media scrum. Alright, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Wrestling Fans Insight. Unfortunately, I am going to be off next week, so if I have time, I'm going to do a short special episode. If not, it's going to be 2 weeks before we do this again, so my apologies. Have a lot of busy things coming up this next month, so... anyhow, I want to take the time to thank Carolina for being my special enforcer, my special co-host Heather filling in for William this week. William's enjoying some time in Idaho, so I hope him and my father had a good trip out there. Also want to give a shout out to Carlos Estrada, first time participating in the show. Jason is always coming in. Jay, Commander Aziz on Twitter. Like to also thank Jess, Obey Jess from Twitter. She's always come in and listen to every episode we've recorded on Twitter Space. If you're not following her, man, you're missing out. She's a real fun gal to talk to and interact with. Also want to thank Spoon of Zeke, who came in for a short time to listen to us record. That guy's amazing. He's helped me a lot with building up my Twitter community. Also want to give a big thanks to Amber Hawley. She was here for a short time, but I was glad to see her. Also James McMahon, big Cowboys fan there. I hope he's going to be having a good football day. Did I miss anyone, Carolina? That I'm sure I did.
Sage came in for a little bit.
Oh, did he? Oh, thank you for
Yes.
Sage Alvarez. I'm guessing Carolina's busy at the moment because she's not talking. So, did you notice anybody else, Heather?
I think that wasn't his name EJ.
Yeah.
His name, he was in here.
There was an EJ that came in, and I can't remember what the doctor's name was, but there was a doctor in here earlier. I apologize. I'll do better next time. But I also want to give a shout out to a few of the podcasts that have also given me a shout out and they do a really good job on their weekly episodes. Ted, the Hillbilly Hill, who does the Hill Truth. Austin Boyer, who does the Wrestling World. BC Hunter and the Nightmare Jay Myers, they do the Wrestling with the Truth pod. And also Augusto All Elite. All four of them are really great podcasts that basically don't get paid to do their podcast, but they do it based on being the fact they've been long time and very passionate wrestling fans. So if you happen to have a chance and have some extra time to listen to some other podcasts, each of them do a really wonderful job, spend quality time doing the research. Also want to give a shout out to anybody who did listen but were not viewable in our list of listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I also want to give some exciting news. I shared it with Heather, Caroline, and I think I shared it on Twitter. But on the new Google, or there's a new streaming app for podcasts called Good Pods. We came in on number 16, I think, at the highest point out of the top 100 wrestling podcasts. And somehow we got into number 78 at one point in the top 100 sports category podcast. I consider that a big win, even though they're just starting out. That's pretty awesome to have that kind of a rank. I'd like to thank Libsyn.com for allowing us to have our podcast hosted on their servers. Also want to thank Pixabay.com for allowing us to donate money and download royalty-free music from the artist G Vidden, Light Saturation, and Coma Media. You can also listen to our podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Deezer, Boomplay. As I mentioned earlier, the new Good Pods app. Also, I believe now we are on Amazon Music, and we have a YouTube channel that is getting uploaded when the servers decide to play nice and cooperate. Other than that, Heather, anybody else got anything to add before we call it good?
No, just thank you for having me as always.
Of course.
Sorry for all the technical difficulties.
Oh, that's okay. I've been having them today as well, so. All right. Well, with that being said, we wish you all well. We'll catch you here in 2 weeks. Peace out and have a great one, folks.